This program contains adult content.
Is there a God?
Big atheist.
Really?
What, am I an idiot? Come on.
That yes, it would be nice if you could throw your sins and your responsibilities on someone else. But it's not true.
It looks like far-left lunacy.
I don't believe that it's true that religion is moral or ethical.
You don't need to follow anybody!
It's not human intelligence!
If someone doesn't value logical consistency, what logical argument are you going to give them that will demonstrate that they should?
Hello and welcome to the Godless Rebelution. Today is Wednesday, April 7th. This is episode 328. I am Dan Ellis, joined by my two fabulous co-hosts, Mr. Taylor Grin.
Hello.
And Mr. Ryan Duffy.
Yeah, you don't have to lie about how fabulous we are. We know.
Oh, I'm not lying. Well, that's just it, right? I'm not lying. Like, there's no way that I could possibly talk up enough your guys' greatness.
Oh, just keep going.
Go on. What's new with you guys? Let's go with Taylor first.
I am a ball of nervousness right now. I find out in 2 days from the time that we're recording this whether or not I got into Malmu's communications master's program, which is scary. I really want to get into that. And then also at that same day, I will be driving to Utah to see you guys. So,
yay!
Yeah. It's a busy ass week. And then to kick things off, yesterday morning, I woke up and had a back spasm that was so bad that when I went into the urgent care clinic, the nurse immediately thought that I was drug seeking. And when the doctor came in, she's like, "Here, turn around. Let me see your back." And she looked at it and she's like, "I can physically see your back muscle twitching right now. Like, I can watch it happen." And I was like, all I want is muscle relaxers. Like, I'll take acetaminophen. I was in the military. That's fine. But just let me stop the cycle of the spasms. And she's like, "Here you go."
Yeah.
Lay down.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that's a huge
tired
problem. Yeah. Well, and I'm sure that's a huge problem for, urgent care centers as people just seeking pain pills. But I don't know. I think that the pendulum has swung a little too far the other way, where now they just figure that everybody that walks in wants pain pills instead of giving them the benefit of the doubt and, working with people who do have chronic pain or a sudden onset of pain and need some relief. They're just automatically assuming that everybody there is a drug-addled doctor shopper.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the thing. Like, for me, I get back pain so infrequently that if I were to even get a prescription of as needed pain pills or muscle relaxers, they would expire in between times when I needed them. So it doesn't make sense for me to just have them on hand. I'll probably use half of the muscle relaxers I got, be better, and then I'll find them in my medicine cabinet a year from now and go, "Oh yeah."
Yeah. I'll go ahead, Ryan.
I just still do a diet of ibuprofen.
Yeah, I pop that shit like Tic Tacs. And
I keep a thing of ibuprofen in my wildland bag.
Oh yeah,
in case I forget to take them before I go on a wildland. I'm like, "Yep, we're out here. It's going to be rough."
One of my buddies posted the other day is being an adult is realizing that you have an upstairs and a downstairs bottle of ibuprofen.
Well, and I learned the other day that, for a while I was getting a prescription for the ibuprofen 800 milligram tabs.
Yeah, just take 4.
Yeah, well, and
I was going to say.
Yeah, I had always heard that, the 800 milligram, it's easier on your stomach, it's time release, all of these other justifications that people were giving for it. And I just I didn't, but Tracy talked to the pharmacist the last time she was getting her prescription refilled and said, "Hey, I've got a question about ibuprofen." It was when she was not feeling well after the shot, and they were, she also went to pick up another prescription, talking to the pharmacist. Anyway, I don't know why I'm getting off on this tangent. Fuck. So she asked the pharmacist about ibuprofen and, you know, if there's a difference between the 800s or just taking 4 200s. And they were like, no, it's the same thing. And she said, well, doesn't it have like a, you know, a time release coating or something that's easier on your stomach? And they're like, well, there's the IBs or whatever that have a coating that, you know, is supposed to make it a little easier on your stomach, but no, they're not time release. There's no difference really between taking an 800 or 4 200s. Like it's the same shit. It's the same. Mm-hmm. It's just a different dosage per pill. So yeah.
Yeah.
You don't need a prescription for the 800s. Just take 4 200s if that works for you.
Yep.
I almost wonder, because like normally that's every 4 hours that you take that. If you couldn't just take 1 200 every hour.
I imagine so, but I don't know. The whole formulation stuff escapes me.
When I need to take them, I just do it once. I just take 4 200s and I'm good for the day.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Then again, it's when I'm working really hard and I know like, hey, my joints are going to be hurting me. Let's put some anti-inflammatory into me right fucking now before I start to hurt while doing heavy work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I take 800 milligrams in the morning. Then usually around lunchtime, not usually, sometimes around lunchtime, I'll take 600 milligrams and then I take another 800 just before bed. And that's fine. And I would say less than half the time I hit the lunch dose. It's usually just, what did I do the day before that may be making me sore the day that I'm taking it off?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I fully expect to be old man walking my first day in Utah after all the driving. Like, I'm glad that we're splitting the trip up into 2 chunks. I found a hotel in, some fucking town in Wyoming, whatever town the University of Wyoming is in. And they have a jacuzzi. And I was like,
done.
Yeah, I called. I was like, do you guys have a jacuzzi? They were like, yeah, we do. You have to reserve it. And I was like, okay, I want to make a reservation. She's like, for a room or a jacuzzi? Like, yes.
Both.
Yep.
So when are you're traveling this weekend. When will you be arriving in Utah?
So I should get into Utah Saturday. And then I'm going to spend a few days with Eric. That really depends on when he gets tired of me. I'll either start hanging out with you guys Tuesday or Wednesday. Hang out with you guys potentially Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but like that Tuesday is very shaky. It'll probably end up going to Eric. So a couple of days with you guys. I'm going to head down to St. George, which is my hometown. Sandra's never been, so I'm going to, show her all of that shit, my university and the bluff and all that stuff. Drive through my old neighborhood if I can remember the old gate code. That kind of shit.
Ooh, a gated community, swanky.
Yeah, if only I'd had any benefit from it for my fucking folks. Yeah. And then, after that, I'm going to briefly dip down to, Las Vegas. We're going to go like the southern route to head back home. Cause an old buddy of mine found a Game Boy that my younger brother has been wanting for a long time. Like he like buys and restores old machines and games and shit like that. So he was able to find like a somewhat rare Game Boy SP model. So I'm going to dip through, say hi to him, grab that, and then head home west through like New Mexico.
Area 51.
Area 51's in Nevada.
Yeah, I just know it's on the way.
Sorry, I didn't mean to sound mean. I was just super confused. No.
Usually when I drive cross country, I never even know what state I'm in. All I know is I drove from Texas to Utah, and I drove through Roswell. Roswell, New Mexico.
Roswell, New Mexico.
Oh, Roswell, not Area 51. That's what I was thinking of. Roswell, New Mexico. And they have the alien museum there. I was like,
Well, shit, now I know what we're doing. We're going to go through like the Albuquerque, Santa Fe kind of part of like northern, like what'll probably end up happening is that day I go to Vegas, we'll continue driving on and stop in like Flagstaff and then Flagstaff to like Santa Fe the next day and then just take out the rest of the trip the day before we get the second Moderna vaccine. And I fully expect, actually, I meant to say before the show, I probably won't be able to do that episode with you guys because my intent is to get the Moderna vaccine that day, like that morning, and then just go to sleep until I don't have like side effects anymore. So, yeah.
So are you able to get it here in Utah then?
No. I'm getting it at the pharmacy in Kansas. Where we got the first one. Yeah.
I'm confused.
So I had the first first dose of Moderna a couple weeks ago now. So I'm at, according to the new study that came out, at like 80% by this point because it's been 2 weeks since I've had that. When I get back into town at the end of the trip, I'll swing by and get the second dosage of the Moderna.
Okay, so it's that not next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after.
Correct. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then I just totally lost my train of thought. And then, once I've gotten that second dose of the vaccine, I'm fully expecting to have like shitty side effects because things like that tend to hit me pretty hard. I get like man flu and that kind of thing. So I'm just going to like lay down until I don't need to lay down anymore / quarantine because, even though all the preliminary studies show that like once you've had the first Moderna, you're pretty good. You're probably not a carrier. You're probably not going to get it. I will have been traveling a lot, so I'm going to be spending like a week just isolated in my house.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I got confused. I thought you were saying that you were going to be getting your shot while you were here and wouldn't be able to do the show with us next week when you're in. So
no, that would be terrible. That would be very counterproductive. The following Wednesday. Yep.
Okay.
So now the world knows my itinerary.
Yes, OPSEC.
And what's new with you, Mr. Duffy?
I got started on the yard project last week, so half my yard is dug up right now, and by the end of the week, we should have some raised vegetable gardens in place and prepping the rest of the yard for sand and paver stones.
Ooh. Nice. You making a little patio in the back?
Well, extending it. So right now it's a 13 by 13 concrete patio, and it's going to be extended to a 21 foot by 21 foot concrete and paver stone patio.
So you're doing paver stones all around the border of the existing concrete? Is that the plan?
Pretty much. And then I'm going to have 2 8-foot long gardens, raised garden beds back there.
Oh, nice.
With a little sitting area between them.
Nice.
What you growing?
It's what Sarah's growing, because as some listeners might remember, I don't eat vegetables.
I'm sorry.
You can't grow bacon. So.
Well, you can. It's just the harvesting that becomes an issue.
Yeah, it's a little bloody. She's going to do like a lot of like peppers, green onions, and I actually cook a lot with green onion, strawberries, lavender. So it smells good and hopefully keeps the fucking cats out of it.
Wait, cats don't like lavender?
That's what I've heard.
Oh, okay. Note to self. I really like lavender. We sometimes burn like a scented candle with lavender, but I don't want to make my cat uncomfortable. So,
well, that might be different than the actual plant. I don't know if there's a difference between them not liking the plant versus the actual smell.
Yeah, it might be something that
like
to do with like the green
like
stalks versus the flowering bit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what's been going on. I mean, besides a busy actual, I realized getting back into a normal work schedule at work now that some of our quarantine stuff's being lifted, now that we've all been vaccinated, we actually got to work now.
Oof.
Doing drills and shit.
Oh yeah, we've been getting back into. Yeah, we got 2 brand new guys. So this last week we were doing a whole bunch of vehicle extrication classes, and then we actually had a real vehicle extrication. Kind of a not funny story. We had a medical call. Person was sick. Transport them to the hospital. Their daughter was going to go meet them at the hospital, and a mile outside the gate flipped her vehicle.
Oh no!
Oh shit!
So it had to be extracted from the vehicle. So she got to take an ambulance ride too.
Oh man,
and I got pulled over for speeding on that same road this morning.
Oh, how fast were you going?
Motherfuckers, 80.
Oh, it's not too bad.
Speed limit 65.
It's
Well, it's not Tiger Woods bad.
No. Well, that's about the same speed he was doing. He was doing like 75, 80, but he was in like a 45.
Yeah.
Cop let me off with a warning because honesty always wins out.
Oh, yeah.
Cop pulled me over and he goes, "Do you know the speed limit?" I'm like, "Yes, sir." "Do you have an excuse for speeding?" "Nope."
Just wanted to get there faster.
Like, just going home. I'm like, "I'm just getting off shift, going home." I didn't say, "Well, usually people are passing me when I'm doing 80.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen a cop on that road fucking 3 times in 5 years.
Wow.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, when you mentioned Tiger Woods, and I had just seen headlines earlier that said that the police estimated he was doing between 80 and 85 in a 40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And was doing 75 when he impacted the tree.
Yeesh. I wonder what, like, how do you lose?
They said they think
much?
he mistook the brake and gas pedal. So when he went to go slam on the brakes, according to the computer, his accelerator was 99%, like a force on it. So his gas pedal was to the floor. I hope it's not something else, like where, you're just kind of like, well, fuck it, I'm going to drive my car off a cliff.
Yeah, well, that was a weird spot to do it. Like there were more opportune locations if his goal was to drive off a cliff.
Yeah, I mean, he did drive into a tree at 75 miles an hour, though.
Yeah, that's true.
After he lost control.
Yeah. So I got my second shot less than a week ago. It's been 6 days, and that was fun. I'm all up on the vaccinations.
Hell yeah.
So that was cool. The side effects for my second shot were definitely worse than the first, but they weren't too awful for me. The day of the shot, of course, I was just really, really tired, and it was probably 2 or 3 hours after I got the shot. All of a sudden, just this wave of nausea washed over me, like out of the blue for no reason whatsoever. Like I was a cunt hair away from vomiting, like just out of the blue, felt like, oh my God, I'm going to puke. It was the weirdest thing. Yeah.
And which one did you get again?
This was the Moderna.
Yes. Yeah. Same one I got. I've heard the Pfizer one. People are showing less side effects with their second dose versus the Moderna, which just means we got the one that works.
Or at least that gives you more side effects.
Right.
But yeah, so it was just weird, like just this wave of nausea washed over me, and it only lasted for, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes or so. But it was like completely sudden and very intense. Like I'm just minding my own business, and then, oh my God, I'm going to throw up. And then, once that was done, I got a little bit of a headache and my nose got really stuffy and then started running. And it was doing that off and on thing where it would get really stuffy and then run for a little bit and then get really stuffy, run for a little bit. And so I took a big dose of NyQuil before bed and slept pretty well, but I woke up at 4:00 in the morning and my head was just throbbing. Like it felt like my brain was a giant sponge and somebody was just squeezing it, just like, and
now I just see the look on Taylor's face being like, oh, fuck.
So you
Those
got
are all my least
favorite
favorite symptoms of things.
So I got up, got some water, went back to bed, and then I was just out from like 4 until 10 in the morning. And I woke up and I was a bit groggy and a little foggy headed, got in the shower, got out, and was still a little foggy headed for most of the rest of the day. But other than that, felt just fine. And then the next day, everything was back to normal. Yeah, it was weird. The nausea thing was the strangest side effect for me. Like it just was so completely sudden, out of the blue and strong. Like I thought for sure I was going to vomit.
Damn.
Like it reminded me of the scene in Young Guns when they do what is it, ayahuasca, I think they're doing.
Oh yeah.
Out in the desert, and they're standing on the cliff and they're just talking, and all of a sudden, blah, 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 just out of the blue vomit. Yeah. That's what it felt like, but I'm over it and very excited that I'm now fully vaccinated. And what is it, within the 2 or 3 weeks?
2 weeks.
that it's like
fully done its thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna be golden, man. It'll be awesome.
Yeah.
So Mormon, the Mormon General Conference spring edition happened this last week. We'll be talking about that and much more when we get back from the other side of this little break.
All right.
Hey, everybody, it's X from the Utah Outcasts podcast and YouTube channel, and you're listening to the Godless Rebelution.
Whoa, good morning, Citizen Venture. Welcome to the neighborhood.
All right, who are you and what are you selling? If it's cookies, I'll take 2 boxes of Thin Mints. If it's religion, you can leave the way you came.
Thank you to everybody who has rated the show on iTunes and Stitcher and are following us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And to all our Patreon patrons, you make the show possible.
Welcome back, everybody. We've been shooting the shit for like an hour now, just talking about plans and looking forward to seeing each other next week. I'm really fucking excited about it, man. But we wanted to talk a little bit about some Confederacy stuff going on in the news lately that was kind of fun and interesting.
Yeah, I never miss a chance to shit all over the Confederacy, and it looks like I'm not going to be alone here. A Confederate monument valued at $500,000 was stolen in March from a Selma cemetery. Officials confirmed today in an article I'm reading from AL.com, which is like the premier like newspaper website that comes out of Alabama.
So
this morning,
Selma, Alabama. Yeah.
This morning, a group claims to have taken the monument, the Jefferson Davis Memorial Chair, sent emails to AL.com saying that they will give the chair to the United Daughters of the Confederacy, UDC, if that organization agrees to hang a banner outside its Richmond, Virginia headquarters. In those emails, a group calling itself White Lies Matter said they stole the chair from the Old Oak Live Cemetery and are demanding that the UDC hang a banner at 1 p.m. on Friday, the anniversary of the Confederacy's surrender in the Civil War, and leave it there for 24 hours.
So they keep saying agrees to hang a banner. Does the banner... I mean, did they intend for the banner to say anything in particular, or?
Oh yeah,
that's the next paragraph.
Oh, okay.
Damn it, Dan! Stealing my thunder. The banner.
Didn't you read this?
Quote. The banner bears a quote from Assata Shakur, a Black Liberation Army activist, wanted by the FBI for the 1973 murder of a New Jersey state trooper. The quote is, "The rulers of this country have always considered their property more important than our lives."
Ugh.
White Lies Matter said it has already delivered the banner to the UDC. They go on, failure to do so will result in the monument, an ornate stone chair, immediately being turned into a toilet, the email states. And you got to see this chair. Like, we're going to include a link in the show notes.
Oh,
this chair has this big open hole right in the middle of it. Like, you would just set a chamber pot under that and it would be a commode.
It's like, perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect for being a shitter.
And they don't have to damage it.
No, it's already a piece of shit. So just like the rest of the Confederacy.
Oh, so real quick, you mentioned that we'll put this in the show notes, and
yeah,
I want to say that I apologize to everybody that the latest episode was released, a day or two late, and that's because Taylor was prophetic in his statement during recording that Sober Dan will be really pissed off at Drunk Dan for all of the extra work that I would have to put into editing that last episode, because I did indeed need to put in extra hours of work to make sure that it sounded okay because of all of the things we were doing while drunk.
Oh my God, I feel so bad.
Oh no, it's totally my fault. Like, you were right. Sober Dan was more angry at Drunk Dan for being Drunk Dan while recording.
I haven't even listened to it yet. It dropped like earlier today.
Yeah.
And I've been asleep all day under like muscle relaxers, so I haven't even listened to it myself.
Yeah, and it dropped earlier today because Drunk Dan made more work for Sober Dan that took longer to edit the show and get it out to everybody.
Yep. So going on, They said failure to do so will result in the monument, an ornate stone chair, being immediately turned into a toilet. If they do display the banner, not only will we return the chair intact, but we will clean it to boot. A woman who answered the phone at the Virginia offices of the UDC said she had heard reports of the theft and the ransom demand were fake news, and there was no immediate response to an email to the organization seeking further comment.
Fake news.
They need to return the chair. It's grand theft, said Patricia Godwin, a longtime member of the Selma chapter of the United Daughters of the Confederacy.
Grand wizard theft.
Oh, yeah. No, wizards don't steal things. Thieves do, right? All right. Got 2 levels in Rogue. Nothing for it. The email went out 2 days after the UDC ran an ad in the local paper seeking the chair's return. Selma Police and District Attorney, I'm not shitting you here, Michael Jackson, confirmed the theft and said they were aware of the ransom demand. The felony theft occurred sometime between midnight and 3 a.m. on March 19th, according to a Selma police report.
Wait, this
District Attorney,
the case is being handled by Michael Jackson?
Yeah.
Yes.
He's going to beat it.
Well, I mean, no one likes to be defeated. Yeah. The felony theft occurred sometime between midnight and 3 a.m. on March 19th. District Attorney Michael Jackson said the chair is reportedly worth $500,000. The incident is sending Selma back into, quote, the twilight zone, he said. There is never a dull moment in Selma.
I can't get over the Michael Jackson bit. I'm sorry.
He added. There is a $5,000 reward leading to information about the disappearance of the chair. Described as being about 3 feet tall, chicka-cha-cha, and weighing several hundred pounds.
The chair is not his son.
They were already told who did it. The people who fucking stole it told them we stole it. How stupid are they?
Yeah, and then it's just a whole bunch of, bullshit about the history of the chair that really doesn't matter. And the article concludes with the White Lives Matter group saying, like most Confederate monuments, the chair mostly exists to remind those whose freedom had been purchased in blood that there still exists a portion of our country that is more than willing to continue to spill blood to avoid paying that debt down. We took their toy and we don't feel guilty about it. They never play with it anyway. They just want it there to remind us what they've done and what they are still willing to do. But the South will not rise again, not as the Confederacy, because that coalition left out a large portion of its population. All that's left of that nightmare is an obscenely heavy chair that's a throne for a ghost whose greatest accomplishment was treason.
That's fucking amazing. I love that last bit. That's fucking awesome, man.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that they've done that.
I always hate that people are like, stop destroying our history. I'm like, we're not destroying history. We're just not honoring it anymore.
Right. Yeah. And there's a difference there for sure.
Right. I also agree with the Germans blowing up the swastikas at Nuremberg. Like, yeah. Fuck that history.
Mm-hmm.
Don't honor it. Fucking get rid of it. Teach it. But don't fucking build them statues and monuments. That goes to things you want to give honor to.
Yeah, you don't need a monument to racism in order to know that it happened.
Yeah.
I was reading an article. I want to say it was from The Roots, but I could be wrong. It might have been The Bulwark or something else, but it was an opinion article about the lawmaker in Georgia who was forcibly removed after knocking on the door.
Yeah.
While the governor signed the legislation for the new Jim Crow laws that they passed there. And one of the things that the author of this article wrote is that hanging on the wall behind those men was a painting of a plantation. And the author pointed out that plantations aren't just these nice, beautiful homes. They were literally concentration camps for black workers to be worked to death.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to stop romanticizing this shit. And the fact that they continue to romanticize that shit deals continual harm and stops us as a nation from actually getting over our past, like improving upon our past.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not gonna advocate breaking the law on the podcast, but I will say, like, that's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it myself, but I will certainly stand by and laugh while it happens.
And I thoroughly appreciate all the things that they've done thus far, because it's kind of glorious. I like it very, very much. That's fantastic. I loved that last little bit though. That was great.
Yeah.
Woo! So you guys have been following like the stuff with Matt Gaetz, right? Like,
oh, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
How fucking nuts is all of that?
In hand. Yeah.
The news that was revealed yesterday that he was seeking like just a full
fucking blanket pardon.
A blanket pardon.
I mean, this shit literally couldn't have happened to a better man, because like a better man would have at least been better at covering their tracks. Like,
oh, well, and what's interesting is the lawyer speak that he's been deploying in defense of his positions of saying that, oh, well, I've never traveled with somebody under the age of 17 in order to have sex with them. Well,
you also listen to opening arguments, Scott.
Yeah. Oh, did they talk about this on opening arguments?
Yeah, he explicitly was like, that's really good lawyer speak. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I think I picked that up from like the New York Times Daily or whatever podcast in the morning.
Nice.
But like Matt Gaetz has been very precise in the lawyer speak that he's been deploying in order to defend himself against all of these allegations, like saying shit like, oh yeah, well, I didn't travel with a 17-year-old in order to have sex with them. Of course, that doesn't answer the question of, did you have sex with a 17-year-old?
Yeah.
Or did you, did you promote, condone, endorse, or somehow support through monetary means the travel of a 17-year-old in order to have sex with them? He uses very precise, very lawyeristic or lawyerese language when dealing with this shit to help cover his ass and provide cover for himself, for his credulous dipshit followers and people who want to buy into the Republican narrative of Matt Gaetz as just a good guy who's been done wrong by the radical left.
It's,
and if I may, oh, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, did you see? I saw one interview with him on CNN where he was defending himself, where he basically said, "Well, I've never paid for sex. I've just taken care of the airfare and hotel fees for my girlfriends. There's nothing wrong with that." It's like, so you're having women flown to you, which you're paying for, and you're paying for their hotel rooms. That's sex trafficking.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and rape.
Yeah.
If the woman in question is under the age of 17, that's fucking rape, because she is not of the appropriate age to offer consent to use her body for whatever Matt Gaetz wants to use it for.
And something I want to say on this, because it comes up fairly frequently, like, that I am taking, schadenfreude delight in Matt's conundrum, is not like that I'm making light of his victims, right?
Right.
And this happens from time to time where people on the right get caught doing terrible things, and immediately we dogpile on them and mock them for the things. Something that readily comes to mind for me is basically any time like a priest or a evangelical or anyone of that stripe gets caught in like a gay relationship, right? And I'm not attacking them, for example, for being gay. I'm attacking them for the hypocrisy of advocating against gay folks while being gay, right? Or engaged in an act that they themselves would call gay. And I'm laughing at the hypocrisy. I'm laughing at the corruption, not at the victims and not at the like class of individual that they are. And same thing here with Matt Gaetz. Like, I'm not laughing at his victims. I am saying though that for existing in a ideological space, alongside like QAnon conspirators who rage about human trafficking and child sex trafficking, to then be responsible for child sex trafficking is hilarious and also terrible, but mostly hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's okay to laugh at that. Not because child trafficking is funny, but because you might as well say that GOP stands for gaslight, obstruct, and project. And this is projection at its finest.
That's, you're absolutely correct.
That's been on the internet for a while, but yeah.
Yeah. Gaslight, obstruct, and project fucking perfectly fits the GOP label these days, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
They're all about pointing to problems with other people while their backyard is just full of mounds of shit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like, look at what Trump has been caught doing, how his campaign has been double and quadruple billing people's cards for donations. You know, I read a story about a guy who literally died in poverty. In October, he donated $500 to the Trump campaign. He kept getting billed week after week after week until it drained his savings.
Mm-hmm.
And then he died in like February without ever having it being resolved.
Mm-hmm.
But what was also crazy about that story, he thought he was going to do a one-time donation of $500.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It also said that guy was living off of Social Security and he was getting $1,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So and I guess it tapped through his savings that he had.
It did.
Yeah.
But still, the fact that his monthly intake was only $1,000 and he was willing to give half of that to Trump.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they took everything.
Yeah. It's a little difficult to feel really bad for people who find themselves in that circumstance after donating to a fucking monster that the monster keeps demanding more and more money from them and is taking advantage of their naivete and lack of skills via the internet. But at the same time, it's like, you know, I feel a little bit bad for you that you were taken advantage of because you pretty clearly aren't the brightest person on the face of the planet. But at the same time, maybe you shouldn't support monsters in the future. Let this be a warning to anybody in the future who would want to support a monster.
Well, and really what we ought to be castigating are religious organizations predominantly, because they are the ones that brainwash people into magical thinking and the rejection of legitimate academic authority and you know, draw these people into a twisted version of reality. They prime those folks into getting taken advantage of by con artists.
Mm-hmm.
Well, especially when they go to the site thinking they're just going to make a donation, not knowing that the site automatically opts them into reoccurring donations. They're like, oh, it's a one-time donation, not knowing the default setting on that site was, no, this is recurring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They made it that way on purpose, hoping you would miss it. And a shit ton of people missed it.
Yep. And on that note, we should head to a little break because I, in true Dan fashion, for a Wednesday where I have decided to have a Monster and vodka drink because I'm tired because I've been working so much fucking overtime, but also wanted to kick back a little bit. So I told you guys during the break, I think you might have gotten up to refill your drink, Ryan. I told Taylor that I'm drinking Monster and vodka so that I can speak very rapidly and sloppily. Have also managed to spill a portion of my drink all over my work laptop. So we will.
That's what you were doing.
Oh yeah. Did you see my?
Oh yeah, your camera.
Yeah, we were enjoying the hyper zoom on your beard.
Yeah, like your beard kept covering up your camera. I was like, what's going on there? Something fall?
That would be Dan went to reach for his drink and spilled a bunch of it onto his work laptop that he'll be cleaning up during this little break.
Okay.
Hi, this is Regina Tippett. I'm a licensed professional counselor. You can find me at Secular Therapy Project or rctcounseling.com. And you're listening to The Godless Rebelution.
What was that sound? That! What was that?
That's just your feet.
Oh, this was a bad idea. I can't do this. These woods could be crawling with religious fundamentalists, ready to stone me to death because I'm not mentioned in whatever book they quote from.
If you have questions, comments, concerns, compliments, corrections, criticisms, or concepts for content, contact the show via email at godlessrebelution@gmail.com, by text or voicemail at 330-81-REBEL, or Twitter the Twatter at TGR Podcast. Thank you!
Well, welcome back, everybody. We have been shooting the shit for about an hour now between segments again, because that's been our MO lately. I like visiting with you guys. You guys are a lot of fun to chat with.
Oh yeah. We got stuff to say.
And, cleaning up the mess that I had spilled all over the table down here. But I thought it was very interesting. I noticed this headline. Well, actually, I didn't even notice it necessarily because I've been so busy with work. But I had a dear friend of mine, Tony, point out and actually tag me in a post about Jordan Peterson because she knows how much I am not a fan at all of Dr. Jordan Peterson's work and think that he's a fucking hypocritical dumb fuck hack who appeals to similarly dumb fuck people who for some reason need to be told that they should make their beds in the morning and think that women represent chaos. Like, it's just, this guy's a fucking walking dumb fuck, and people pay attention to him for whatever fucking reason that I can't wrap my mind around. And it's so fucking aggravating and frustrating to see all of the bullshit narratives that he promotes and puts out for people who are all too willing to come in and fucking lap up his snail trail behind him because they think he's a brilliant fucking mind who confirms all of their worst fucking notions about people, particularly trans people. And it's so fucking frustrating and aggravating. Sorry, I posted a thing earlier this week about me living my life as a white man who yells about things, and that's the way I've dealt with things historically as I've gotten angry about different things in the world around me, is that I yell when I'm angry. And in personal settings, I was recently educated about how damaging and harmful that is for people that I would otherwise like to have conversations with. When I get angry and I start yelling, that it shuts them down and makes them less inclined to interact with me. And so I've been
less aggro.
Yeah. So I've been trying for a long time, even before reading this. I've been trying to moderate my approach when I talk to people, that I'm not loud, that I'm not angry, that I try to be more calm and stoic about things that otherwise piss me the fuck off and make me want to yell. Right. And so I posted about this on Facebook and received some great feedback about, from various people saying it's wonderful that you recognize this as a problem. And, in my personal life, that's led me to, be less interactive with people when I encounter them, and it leads me to shut down. And people posting about their views on this as being a real harm to them when they encounter people who are loud and yell when they're angry, and that it shuts down conversation that they would rather have with these people. And then I've also received feedback that it's very cathartic for listeners of the show when I fucking yell about shit because I get fucking angry about it. And so I've kind of decided that, okay, in my real life experiences and interactions with people, I will try to be much more calm and quiet and considerate when I listen to the things that they're saying to me, and will try to not react in an angry, loud, boisterous yelling fashion. But that when we're doing the show, there are people in our audience who find it very cathartic when I fucking yell about shit that makes me angry.
What would make you that angry, Dan?
So this bit of information about Jordan Peterson doesn't really make me angry as much as just amused that this is a thing that exists in the world. So, my dear friend Tony Netzler posted about this article and tagged me in it because she knows that I am no fan at all of the dumb fuck hypocritical moron Jordan Peterson that some people put on this pedestal of, intellectual deep thought that they should hang on his every dumb fuck word that is uttered from his gob. This comes to us from Esquire, and the headline says Jordan Peterson thinks Ta-Nehisi Coates used his ideas for Captain America's Red Skull. Subtitle is The Professor and Guy You Avoid at Parties just discovered a 2-year-old comic by MacArthur Genius and National Book Award winner Ta-Nehisi Coates. And for our listening audience who may be unfamiliar with Ta-Nehisi Coates, he's a brilliant writer. I thoroughly enjoyed everything that I have read of his. He's a great writer, and he personalizes the black experience in America to where, of course, white people in America can't really experience what it means to be black, but he personalizes things in his writing so that it's more easily relatable for white people who are reading it. And it's uncomfortable at times, right? It makes you kind of cringe and feel bad and feel a little bit guilty, and it should, because black people in America have historically been treated like shit, have been denigrated, have had their rights stripped from them, have had to work their asses off for the basic fundamental human rights that all the rest of us as white people experience day to day and have no issue with. There's no even secondary thought in our minds that this is something unusual or exceptional about our experience. And
he did a really good job of capturing like the Jordan Peterson type shit. If you actually look at the excerpts of the comic, right, it's very clearly meant to look like YouTube, right, but stripped down so it's not violating intellectual property law. It says stuff like 10 rules for life, chaos and order, the feminist trap, which is exactly the kind of inflammatory shit that Jordan Peterson puts out. But there's this really cool dialogue that happens between Cap and the cop. And Cap says, it's all the same. It's the same for all of them. Young men, weak, looking for a purpose. I found the flag. You found the badge, he says to a cop. They found the skull. He tells them what they've always longed to hear, that they're secretly great, that the world is against them, that if they're truly men, they'll fight back. And bingo, that's their purpose. That's what they live for, and that's what they'll die for. And it reminds me so much of what Christian Picciolini said in a book he wrote recently. Christian Picciolini is a reformed neo-Nazi who was in charge of a gang in the south side of Chicago in the 80s. And he said that young men, all people, but especially young men, are looking for community, identity, and purpose. And if you can give that to them, then you can make them do anything.
Yeah. And that's what Peterson is. He's that gap filler for directionless white people, or white men specifically, who, feel like the world is passing them by with their antiquated notions of how they need to relate to people of the opposite sex, how they need to relate to trans people, basically how they need to relate to the modern fucking world that is passing them by with their antiquated notions of what should and should not be.
Well, it's like speaking to the will to power, action for action's sake, all these fascist and proto-fascist ideas, is made to make young men feel like they ought to be doing more than they are, that they're bad for not doing more than they are, and that the world owes them the space to go and do what they believe are great things. And so it's very much like religion. It creates a problem and offers the cure for the low price of a Patreon subscription or a book, or whatever. But it causes these men to lash out, directly causes these men to become violent because they're told that they have to act, and, the action is left up to them. It's stochastic terrorism.
Isn't he Canadian too?
He is, but there's nothing wrong with that.
I just mean, we've only gotten 2 horrible people out of Canada in the last few years, I guess.
Jordan Peterson.
Canada, do better.
Him and Justin Bieber?
No, I wasn't going with Bieber. I mean, I was going with more people who actually socially influence. The Proud Boy dude,
Gavin McInnes.
He's
Gavin
fucking
McInnes,
Canadian too.
Yeah. Is Ben Shapiro a Native American?
What do you?
Jesus Christ, that came out
fucking white.
That came out like so completely wrong.
I do believe that he is native to the country of America.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
He is cousins with God. I can't think of her name. You know Matilda, the old movie based on the Roald Dahl book, Matilda.
Yeah.
The girl who played Matilda is his like cousin, and
really?
and she fucking like shits on him on Twitter regularly.
As everybody should. Like,
yeah.
My God, what an asshole Ben Shapiro is. And I think what probably bothers me more about anything, what bothers me more about Ben Shapiro than anything is that he's obviously an intelligent person, right? He knows what he's talking about, and he's choosing deliberately to mislead people and be a fucking asshole. Like he's made a deliberate choice to be an asshole and to harm other people.
For money.
Yeah. And that my God, that makes you lower than low. That's the worst fucking possible position you can have as a human being, is to prop yourself up for money by denigrating and shitting on a minority class that is already endangered, and you propping up the notion and ideas that help support victimizing this already minority and marginalized group makes you like one of the world's biggest fucking assholes in my book.
Well, the right is always welcoming to the dumb person's idea of a smart man. Fucking Michael Bay and Zack Snyder movies, fucking Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, Jordan Peterson, fucking Bill O'Reilly. Like,
well, I want to say Bill O'Reilly's smart.
No. What I'm saying is a dumb person's idea of what a smart person sounds like.
Yeah.
My dad fucking bought me a book by Mark Levin like 4 or 5 years ago, and I started going through it, and I was like, he gave it to me saying like, oh, he cites a whole bunch of sources. He makes really compelling arguments, and I open this thing up, and it's just mouth breathing stupidity, and all of the sources are circular as hell in the right wing ecosystem of like opinion articles and shit, as opposed to actual hard research. Like,
well, according to OAN,
according to a study performed by the Heritage Institute.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I know their data was good. Yeah. So,
yeah.
I don't know. Do you want to close us out with some Mormon stuff, Dan?
Well, yeah. So we've mentioned a few times throughout the show that we're going to be talking about Mormon GenCon. So Mormon General Conference happens twice per year, once in the spring, once in the fall. And it's always just a fun smattering of really bad ideas coming from,
rich white people.
Yeah.
For non-Mormon listeners, it would be kind of like if the Pope gave like a speech twice a year with like some of the top cardinals also giving speeches about like the agenda and like key ideas of the church.
Or just remember, the only other group I can think of that does this on an annual basis is Scientology.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Oh, I have to watch this now.
they have their, I think they do it annually. They do their annual, like, this is what's going on. This is how the Sea Org is doing. Yeah.
How many slaves do we have on the boat? Yeah.
Pretty much. How much money do we need?
Well, and so before we move on to Mormonism in particular and General Conference, I want to say that we've mentioned Serious Inquiries Only and their recent couple episodes about trans folk and the end of gender. It was a 2-part show that Thomas produced along with Dr. Lindsay Osterman, talking about Dr. Deborah So's recent book that's titled The End of Gender, Debunking the Myths About Sex and Identity in Our Society. Dr. Deborah So is a fucking hack, and she had a clear agenda in putting out and pushing this book that further denigrates and dehumanizes members of the LGBTQ community, in particular trans folk, by promoting and promulgating a bunch of really terrible ideas about what science says about sex and gender. I encourage everybody to listen to this most recent two-part episode from Serious Inquiries Only. It's episodes 284 and 285. They're fantastic. Lindsay goes through. I
just downloaded it.
Yeah, Lindsay goes through and picks apart a lot of the information in Dr. So's book because it is not science. It is a bullshit narrative promoted by somebody with an obvious agenda against trans people. And it's harmful and despicable that this was not only written, but published by anybody and then promoted and provided a platform by several different podcasts, most notably Joe fucking Rogan, who is a walking fucking nightmare of a human being lately. Like, fuck that guy in particular.
Mm-hmm.
And
he gives Jordan Peterson a big platform too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He promotes all of the worst fucking elements of humanity. Jordan fucking Peterson, fucking, Alex
Ben
Jones,
Spiro, Candace Owens.
Yeah. Candace Owens, Deborah So, like all of the worst fucking elements of humanity he platforms and promotes their fucking terrible anti-scientific ideas because he's all about free speech, man, and wanting to hear both sides of everything. Fuck you, Joe. There's not both sides to fucking nonsense and harms that are demonstrably repeated by these people over and over and over, and you platform them, and you're a fucking terrible person for doing it. I'm so fucking angry with the bullshit that he promotes on his show. It makes me really fucking mad. Makes me want to yell about stuff. Anyway, I have had listened to Joe Rogan because every now and then he has some good guests on there that are fun to listen to and that I'm interested in, like, Neil deGrasse Tyson or, he has a variety of guests on there that every now and then his show is fun to listen to because he does have these long form conversations with people that are very interesting. But then more often than not, especially lately, he's been platforming these fucking garbage monster dumpster fire people who are only seeking to harm other people. And I think that's dangerous and fucking wrong. And he should feel ashamed and terrible for doing so.
But he doesn't.
And now I'm sorry. I'm going to have to take the talking stick real quick.
Sure.
Fucking Joe Rogan. Like, I've had this argument with people that I know who like Joe Rogan, about journalism and the institution of journalism. Joe Rogan, whether or not he perceives himself as being this way, is functioning as a journalist, right? Because he is performing long form interviews with people who are of public interest, right? And he is proliferating that as media. Our term media that we use to discuss like the news in particular comes from the form intermediate. And the idea of being a good journalist is to intermediate between the source and the audience. And as a good journalist, what you need to do in that intermediation is to do things like fact check, contextualize, discuss history. And Joe Rogan deliberately does not do those things. He just provides the source a platform for the audience, and that's bad journalism.
Yeah, that's fucking terrible.
He can say that he's not a fucking journalist, and he's not, but he is performing the actions of a journalist, which means he needs to do the things the responsible journalist would do. If this were 60 Minutes, Walter Cronkite would be fucking pushing back, or whoever does 60 Minutes now would be pushing back on the source and say, well, Jordan Peterson, you claim that women are agents of chaos and that humans are like lobsters. Can you explain the like scientific basis for shit like that? And that's where it would fall apart.
Yeah.
And you, like listener, should not be listening to people who do not engage in that critical step of intermediation to do the work to ensure that there's some legitimacy between the source and you. Like, we try to do that on this show. None of us are news guys. I'm kind of a news guy, but I haven't published in like 8-9 years. But we try to make sure that we actually look up the context and the background and the validity of things before we bring them to you. Because we don't want to be wrong, and we don't want you to be wrong. Like, we don't want you to have absorbed information that you take for granted because we said it, and then to go out in the world and believe wrong things. And people like Joe Rogan don't give a fuck if you believe wrong things.
Yeah, absolutely.
They only care about the check.
Yeah, and that's just it, is that he's promoting all of this bullshit uncritically. There's no critical thought or skepticism put into any of his shows where he has these fucking morons and assholes promoting them and providing them this platform with access to millions of people listening every fucking day to the Joe Rogan show and letting them speak their bullshit uncritically. Just putting it out there and saying, oh, well, you know, we're all about free speech and we want to make sure that everybody is provided the opportunity to express their ideas. And this is all about the marketplace of free ideas. Bullshit. You're promoting a fucking narrative. And if you can't see that, then you're fucking blind and stupid. And if you can see it and aren't doing anything about it, then you're being a fucking asshole and need to be put in check and called out for doing so. And I think that's what he's doing. He knows, like, Joe Rogan isn't a stupid person. Like, he's fairly intelligent, but he has a narrative, right? He knows that what these people are saying is something that fits what he already believes. And he's just allowing them his access to his platform to millions of people to promote their stupid, uncritical, unscientific, dangerous, stupid, denigrating ideas to masses of people who accept that uncritically themselves. And that's dangerous and fucking stupid.
If you're okay with going a bit long, this actually ties in very well with what your friend Lindsay Parks said.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to read off what she said, if that's cool with you.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So your friend Lindsay Park, who kind of got you into podcasting.
Yeah. Lindsay does a lot of fantastic work, and she examines her faith with a critical eye. And I think as the years have gone by, is moving farther away from the LDS Church and its main teachings, while also keeping her toe in the waters of LDS faith and able to speak to people sitting in the pews who recognize a lot of the harms that are being promoted by the LDS Church. And she had this great post recently about what happened at General Conference, and I'll allow you to continue, Taylor. Sorry.
Yeah, no, not at all. I appreciate the context. So I'm going to go ahead and read what she posted. I'm jumping into this lazy learner discussion to talk about Russell Nelson's, that's the prophet of the Mormon Church right now, right?
Yeah.
Latest conference talk, where he dismisses doubt and calls folks who possess doubt lazy. Normally, it's hard on systems, soft on people for me, but it seems like Nelson's latest is a sum total of the system lately, so it's fair game for discussion. The general membership of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints have long been trained to accept and venerate the new guy in charge, no matter who they are or what they espouse. I think that's lazy, but obviously I don't participate in that way of engaging Mormonism anymore. What I do know is that our average chapel Mormon puts in their time day in and day out. Few work as hard for their church as a Mormon. Twice a year, they all come together for conference to look for insight and guidance. Twice a year, their efforts are met with empty catchphrases. If they are expected to be loyal and in good standing, they must find ways to derive some meaning from it all. It's like my body trying to find nutrients from all the Diet Coke I give it. Nelson's talks seem like empty calories. There's little to no reciprocity in his relationship to his flock, and it shows. Maybe that's what Nelson means. He wants us to take his talks and decode them like Taylor Swift albums. Maybe he thinks his words are broad enough that they will find application somewhere. The best Mormons have is making more meaning from his words than he intended. The worst we have is people being forced to defend empty calories. We are either getting the height of this man's capabilities or he's phoning in the revelator part. Maybe he just doesn't know how to lead old ideas in a new world. The only other alternative theory I have is that he has no respect for his own people. Why else would he coddle them like children?
Mm-hmm.
Insults about those who no longer found nourishment in Mormonism is beneath someone with so much veneration. Ideas meant to shut out doubt are antithetical to building faith in the first place. Faith cannot exist without doubt, and yet we're supposed to hand the first over without contending with the second. It doesn't even make any sense. How can a man who is supposed to be leading God's church in the last days not understand the relationship between faith and doubt?
Yeah,
it's no wonder Mormonism is on the decline.
Yeah.
Huh?
Oh, I was just going to say exactly how indeed can the man who is supposed to be leading God's church in the last days not understand the relationship between faith and doubt? Faith in itself is not an expression of perfect belief, right? In order to have faith, by stating at all that you have faith, you are recognizing that you have doubt, but you are choosing to believe instead of dismissing any of these religious claims, right? That's what faith is about, that you are choosing to believe in the face of conflicting information.
Yeah, evidence to the contrary.
Right.
Yeah. No wonder Mormonism is on the decline. Some of these leaders seem completely ill-equipped to handle the challenges Mormonism faces. But okay, sure. Folks like me are lazy listeners. I've produced hundreds of podcasts that represent hundreds more hours of research, presumably all in an effort to eschew belief. Nelson could never understand all of that was an effort to understand my faith, not just my doubts. I've tried to learn about the communities I serve, so much so that I've spent time breaking my back in them. I'm on the ground every day, trying to better understand the things that I am involved in. Where is Nelson in all this? What can he even understand about doubt when he is so certain of himself? Does he even know about his own people? From the looks of things, not much, because most of his edicts and prophetic wisdom have resulted in virtue signals conflated with scripture. He mistakes faith and loyalty so much that he can't even weave a coherent theology together. It's a little sad to be so disconnected and cloistered from those you serve, that you know nothing about them or how to help them. The phrase lazy learners, besides its lazy alliteration, is truly just the dumbest of phrases. I'm embarrassed for our guy, our supposed seer and revelator, shoots his shot with this type of stuff. Really? This is the best the prophet of God has to offer his people right now? Leading without the humility required to understand one another seems like lazy leadership to me.
And like, I have to just stand and applaud Lindsay for this post. I think that was brilliant and perfectly stated that, yeah, Nelson seems to conflate loyalty with faith. And there's an absolute difference there that he's either deliberately missing or is completely ignorant of. In either case, he is a bad spokesman as the mouthpiece of God for the LDS Church.
Well, which, I mean, in the end is good for us because it will help point out the hypocrisy of the church.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. But it's just, it is so disappointing that the leader of, America's most recent assertion of faith is such an inept fucking leader that he doesn't even understand the difference between faith and loyalty. He's asking people to remain faithful to the LDS Church when what he means is he wants them to remain loyal to the LDS Church in spite of the doubts that they are facing and in spite of the doubts that could otherwise strengthen their faith if he were to only speak to them.
I mean, alternatively, he does and just doesn't care. The Mormon Church reported that they had that new church statistics released Saturday showed the number of new children added to church membership rolls declined for the 6th consecutive year. About 65,000 children were added to church membership in 2020, down 47% from a modern peak reached in 2008. What was the other one?
I wonder if that's the issue.
Yeah, since 1998, more church members have lived outside of the United States and Canada. By 2025, we anticipate that as many church members may live in Latin America as in the United States and Canada. Like they're hemorrhaging hard. Another thing that I noticed in the conference is that they heavily emphasized, they gave an entire talk dedicated to getting people back in the temple service. In order to go into the temple, you have to have a temple recommend. In order to have a temple recommend, you must be paying your 10% tithing. I'm betting that they are hemorrhaging members. And when that happens, the leadership of the church is going to conflate faith with loyalty in order to make sure that they know that if they're not doing all the things that their God says they have to do, then they're going to be shunned because they need asses in seats, young people having kids, and people paying tithing. Oh, that was another thing. Something like half of all church members now are single.
Wow.
At all ages. And so like their members are getting married later and later, which means they're not having as many kids and they're not having that replenishment by way of reproduction that they have had in the past. I mean, honestly, we could go back and look at what happened with the Catholic Church 50 years ago and know what's going to happen with the Mormon Church now.
Oh yeah, for sure. They're following the same trajectory as far as losing members, because the world is becoming more modern and skeptical and critical. And instead of addressing the needs of their members and, letting them know that it's okay to have your doubts and we can strengthen your faith through your doubt by addressing your doubts, and instead conflating faith with loyalty and saying that if you have doubts, then you're not really faithful. And that's the exact fucking opposite, because they don't understand what the fuck is going on in the world around them.
Now we're going to need a lot of resources for these Mormons that want to leave.
Oh, for sure.
I wish people were doing something like that.
And luckily, thank you, Ryan. That's a fantastic and purely natural segue. There is an organization called Quit Mormon. You can find them at quitmormon.com. And they are doing a variety of learning opportunities basically for people leaving the Mormon Church tonight. And I fucked up. I was supposed to have put a Facebook post out and I did not. They're doing an Overcoming Shame seminar that's being led by my therapist, actually, Regina Tippett. Defining
guest on the show also.
And, Yeah. She's been on the show. We're probably going to bring her on to do a plug for this event in the near future. Even if it's just to have like a drop between the segments. Anyway, so she tonight is giving a lesson on, distinguishing between shame and guilt and learning how to heal and move on. Next week, April 12th, there will be a discussion on LGBTQ individuals inside and outside of the Mormon Church. April 22nd, there's going to be a segment called Grounded Sexuality During a Faith Transition. And it's basically like sex education for adults who never got a good sex education when they were in religion, or who had a deliberately sabotaged sex education while they were in religion. And then the 29th is going to be a segment on dealing with anger after Mormonism, and talk about how to cope with overcoming the anger problems that a lot of people have when they leave faith, because they feel like me, one of my big problems is I feel like I lost out on a lot of my childhood. And that makes me really angry sometimes. It's one of the things I'm dealing with in my therapy right now is how to overcome this frustration I have with how many things I missed out on that people with a normal childhood had. So that's at quitmormon.com. And you can find the list of events that they're doing. We'll also post it to the Facebook page after this episode. And as things come out that organization is doing, we're going to make sure to keep you updated on them, because we want to make sure that we can provide a good landing pad, a good community for people who leave the only community that they've known.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are several different groups, at least here in Utah, where, of course, the predominant faith tradition is Mormonism and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, to provide that sense of community and belonging to people who leave the church. Because, as we've discussed several times through several different episodes of this show, the LDS Church tries to monopolize all of your time as a member of that church. You've got Monday family home evening, Tuesday home teaching, Wednesday work in the temple, Thursday work in the temple and or young men's, young women's fireside chats. Friday, you've got basketball sports leagues within the LDS Church, Boy Scouts. Saturday, you've got church service and calling. Sunday, you've got church for 3 hours, and it's just a cycle that repeats every fucking day. They try to monopolize your time, and it becomes all of your social structure in life. And so when you leave the church, you leave behind not only your former beliefs in some mythical, invisible sky wizard who's going to control your ultimate destiny, but your entire social structure as well. And often when people leave the faith, they are ostracized from all members of the church because the other members of the church have been taught from infancy to disavow, disbelieve, disinherit, disown, and block any access to people who have left the faith because they have been corrupted by the other, by the adversary, by Satan, who is leading people astray and away from the church, that is the one true and restored entity in church on God's earth of his teachings and his ultimate salvation for people to maintain and obtain a glorious life for themselves in the afterlife, where this life is just the doormat to the afterlife, where they're going to have this glorious existence in God's presence. And it's disgusting and despicable. And so here in Utah, atheists of Utah and several other groups have made it part of their mission to provide that social structure for people who are leaving the LDS Church in general and in particular, because it's such a large part and predominant faith within the state of Utah.
Yeah.
Well, that will wrap things up for us for this episode. I'm really fucking looking forward to seeing you guys next week.
I know. We get to
I'm stoked.
Yeah.
IRL this show, whatever that means.
I'm so excited to have you guys here in studio with me, even knowing how much work I have set ahead of me in order to get the studio back in shape for you guys to arrive and be active participants here in the same fucking place as me.
I just wonder if the puppers will remember me.
Oh, I'm sure they will. They love their Uncle Ryan.
You're going to have to drag Sandra away from the dogs. I hope you're aware of that.
I'm excited for you guys to see the dogs, and I'm sure the dogs are going to be thrilled and overjoyed to have people here. They love people. And Lily, who's the newest member of the tribe, loves people, but she's also afraid of people. So
delightful.
It'll take some. She's like the cat of dogs in our house.
Fair. Our cat is like a dog, so sure we'll be able to bridge that gap. Let's go ahead and give some thanks to our Patreon subscribers.
Most definitely.
I'll go ahead and start us off with our patron, Two Skeptical Chaps.
Alan Firth.
Don't be a Richard.
Hunter Grin.
John McCullough.
Ollie Olson.
Sinead Duffy.
Steve Kuno.
Steven Andrews.
Oh, I'm an asshole.
Oh,
I fucked up.
I do that all the time. Steven Andrews.
Theodore Sellin. My buddy, thanks for subscribing.
Woohoo! New Patreon patron, thank you.
Tiffany Hudson.
Vanessa.
All hail Peneth Buttra.
Andrew Vodapich.
Corey Ebert.
Jeff Peterson.
Jeremy Goodson.
Megan Mitchell.
Utah Outcasts.
Wesley Aaron.
Freethinker 215.
Chad Pryor.
Janet Uter.
Nico Gonzalez.
Purple Dragon.
Savita Kuna.
Avocado the Cat.
Tim Jacobson.
Trisha Weir.
Yeah.
Yes.
and a $5 patron. Hell yeah. Thank you so much.
Do you want to say it again without the question mark?
Trisha Weir.
Good job.
Thank you.
Patreon customer service sucks donkey balls.
And James. Thank you, buddy.
Woohoo! Thank you all very, very much. If you, dear listener, would like to become a Patreon patron, you can do so very easily by going to patreon.com/GodlessRebelution, where you can contribute as little as $1 per episode. We get all kinds of fun and fancy things like early access to episodes, extended outtakes, extended episodes, all kinds of fun stuff. Bonus episodes.
Me saying stupid stuff.
And a bunch of other fun things that will be coming out in the near future. I plan on revamping our Patreon levels because it's been a long time since I've done that, and they're all still set to what I had initially set up, and I'm slacking on some of the things that are going on there. But I'm looking forward to seeing you guys. We're going to do a bunch of fun work and fantastic spendings of times together in the studios and the things and the junks and stuff and the pudding pops.
I don't want to be in the same room now. I'm watching my drink, Dan.
Well, thank you all very much for listening. Thank you guys for joining me tonight, and I will see you all next week.
Yes, you will.
See you then.
Well, that's not bueno. I need a new work laptop anyway. This one, I think I've had this one for 3 years now, which is our swap out time. So,
how many segments we got left? We've only done 2.
Just one. Okay. We've just got the closing left.